9. Everyone, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The door's going to be opened by soon. On we go in. Who's brave enough to go first? These guys. I'm going to pass the microphone.
Hello everyone. Exciting time. We're going time travelling. So is everyone ready to go? We're going back to 1944 and it's on the Western Front and the war is going on and we're going to see what Christmas was like. So are you ready to travel back in time? Let's go.
Because what we're looking at is soldiers on the other side of the Second World War, which is namely the German soldiers, and just trying to get away from the politics that you normally read about in the history books, about the enemy always being the nasty people, and just looking at the fact that they were people as well, especially at Christmas time. They got homesick. They wanted to be with their loved ones, but they had to fight as well as the Allies. And the winter of 1944 on the Western Front in the north of France and in Belgium was one of the coldest winters in living history at the time. In fact, it was so cold that tyres froze on the vehicles, and basically the rubber took on the consistency of balsa wood. So when they tried to move the vehicles, the tyres just broke up like biscuits. It was that cold. The ground was like steel in hardness, and the poor soldiers of both sides had to dig in and try and make themselves as comfortable as possible. And on all sides they had very good postal service for communications with their loved ones at home. And it's worth remembering that the Christmas that we know today, 90% of it actually came from Germany. It was brought to this country by Princess Caroline, wasn't it? And also by Prince Albert, of course, the husband of Queen Victoria. The Christmas tree, the wooden toys, you see, all of the things like the Christmas crackers, the nutcracker, and all of these wonderful things, the Advent wreath, the Advent calendar even came from Germany. And soldiers on the front would be getting themselves ready. We've actually showing on the wall there, these are actual newsreels of soldiers getting ready for Christmas, writing home to their loved ones, making presents, and also receiving presents as well, mostly practical things. Now I'm just going to get out of this, excuse me, I've just come off patrol, as you can see, because even though it is Christmas time, there is still a war on.
You should see the look on their faces in Wilkinson's.
Yep. Yes, I shot my first turkey for Christmas this year. You want to see the look on the faces of the people in Iceland. Right. So let's just get out of the snow. Wear that for me. That's it. Thank you. Okay. Now, unfortunately, homesickness was one of the things that, for some soldiers, it overtook them so much emotionally, being away from home, especially sort of in 1944, that a lot of them actually deserted, and it was the job of the military police to try and make sure people weren't trying to sneak away from the front and get home without permission. And the soldier I'm portraying is actually what's called a Feldjäger, which means field hunter, and they were a branch of the military service whose sole task was to look for deserters. So they would be stationed behind the lines at places like railway stations and points of concentration of troops, so that bus stations, anywhere like that. And at the end of the war, they were actually the only branch of the German armed forces who weren't disarmed. they actually joined the Allies and worked with the Allies at the end of the war to actually try and help restore order in a country which was basically in chaos at the time. And they still exist today. In fact, the German army today, the Bundeswehr as it's called, the German Federal Army, their field police, their military police, are still called the Feldjäger Corps, and they are direct descendants of this branch of the armed services which started in 1943. So they were the only branch that never actually surrendered, and are still going today. So my job would be to look for deserters, and one of the things that I'd be looking for if you were at a railway station would be to see if you had one of these. This is a leave pass. This allowed you to go home. Forget getting other presents, forget getting bars of chocolate. These are all original artifacts. This is a bar of chocolate, actually from 1943, okay, which would have been sent to a soldier from home. Nice packet of cigarettes there. What else have I got in my box? Postage was free to the military. It looks like my wife's knitted me a nice hat and some gloves as well. So, but you can forget all that. This is what you really wanted. This was a pass that allowed you to go home for Christmas. And you would have been given other comforts. A lot of soldiers actually made their own Christmas cards, and they would have been sent Christmas cards as well. These are actual cards. This was drawn by a soldier to send home to his family at the time during the war. And they would have been making little figures and things for their children. Now this doesn't look like much at the moment, it's a lot of different piles of wood. But when it's finished, it will actually be a figure like this. Okay, and as you see smoking a pipe, he's got a big hole where his mouth is. Now inside here is a cone made of pine resin. Can you smell that sort of Christmassy pine smell in here? Yeah. That's come from him. Because what you do is you open him up, in fact he's quite warm still, and there's a cone inside there that's burning. In fact you can probably see the smoke still coming off it. Okay, and it looks like he's smoking his pipe. You see? So that's the sort of thing that would have been made on the front to send home. They were actually, companies were actually issued with their own Christmas decorations even. This was an extremely rare box of original wartime Christmas decorations, which are just pressed aluminium stars with little resin cabochons on them. So the troops were looked after at Christmas time as much as was possible. But of course they all wanted to go home, and over here we have the home front and the good lady writing letters and making up parcels to send to her husband or to her sons.
And to anyone else.
And to any other family who would be at the front. In fact, a lot of the women also worked by sending out packages and parcels to military hospitals, or the children on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day would actually go to the military hospitals and visit the wounded soldiers and give them presents. Okay, so you would have had a radio going. We had a Bakelite radio there, which would have carols. We would have also had radios in the field as well. You can probably see this is a mock-up of the little tent that I would have had, the shelter here. And I've even got my own gramophone. Now, how many of you have ever seen a gramophone, a record player like this? Have you ever heard one? Shall we see if it works?
Yeah.
You've seen them in movies. Shall we see if it works? I'll just have to crank it up because it's not electric. It works by clockwork. You've got to wind it up. You need a strong arm to do this. Right, let's have a look. Let's see what's playing. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree. It's good, isn't it? So you could take that anywhere with you. You didn't need electricity. You could have it in your tent if you were a soldier out fighting in the war. So you would have had all these home comforts. This is actually a British one. It's a HMV, his master's voice. Don't tell anyone, I found it at Dunkirk. It was left behind at Dunkirk, so that's how I got it. Okay, so This is an actual record of children. This is a children's choir singing during the war. So some of those children might today be children's great-grandmothers in Germany. Some of them might still be around. So there you go. So did you want to say a bit about what you're doing?
Yes, well, I'm Mrs. Kriechbaum. I'm at home. I've been left behind, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm not doing anything, because I might be making up presents to send out to my husband or to any other relatives that I might have, any children I might have. So all of you lot, if you're of your children during the war, you'll be making presents to send to your mums and dads, because your dad might be away fighting on the front, but so might your mum be, because the women would go to war as well if they were able to. If they didn't have young children, quite often they would join the Army, Navy or Air Force as auxiliaries, as they did in England. And also they joined the Red Cross, the International Red Cross. Have you heard of that? Yeah? They do a lot of things like disaster relief and first aid and nursing. So the International Red Cross, or the Deutsches Rotes Kreuz, which is the German Red Cross, were actually on the front, on the war front with the soldiers, and they were nurses and doctors. But I stayed at home because I have a 4-year-old little girl, so I can't go away and leave her. I have to look after her. And I will be making presents. I've had loads of letters. Look at all these letters I've had, and these from all different people in my family that I've got to read and reply to. The shortest one was from my husband. He obviously didn't have an awful lot to say.
Or not much time?
Oh, not much time. I haven't read it yet, I have to admit. Read all the other ones first. But it's a very busy time of year getting ready for Christmas, because in Germany we celebrate Christmas, we celebrate Advent first of all, which of course we're in Advent now, which is why we're having this wonderful living Advent calendar. And we start really on the 1st of December, or the 29th of November this year, is the first Sunday in Advent, and we go all the way through to the Epiphany. Who can tell me when Epiphany is? When's the 12th day of Christmas? Well done! Yeah, so Epiphany is the 6th of January, which is when Christmas officially ends. Lots of things to prepare. All the decorations, all the presents, pile of presents here. I'm hoping that Oberfeldwebel Kriechbaum is going to get a leave pass for Christmas, because those are his presents. And although the postage is free to the armed forces, I don't think the postman is going to appreciate me very much, because there's a lot of them and one of them's rather big. And one of the things you may have noticed, we're quite lucky here in Folkestone because we have a Lidl's, which means we can get German food. And one of the loveliest things they do at Christmas, they have Stollen instead of Christmas cake, and they also give out things to friends and family in the form of gingerbread. Who likes gingerbread? You all like gingerbread. Would you like to try some proper German gingerbread? Yeah?
Yes.
Now, this is a tradition in Germany. They eat a lot of gingerbread. Have you seen all the gingerbread houses? Haven't made mine yet, I'm afraid. But we've got some gingerbread here that you can try.
These are some of the traditional Christmas decorations. You would have also had a lot of figures. They have a pair of figures called the Angel and the Miner. Now this is the miner, because mining in Germany was a very big thing, especially in the 16th and 17th centuries, silver mining and tin mining in the area called the Ord Mountains and in Bavaria. And this is an original from the 1940s miner holding his finds there. You see, and he's got the light. And these had two purposes. There was an angel as well. They had two purposes. They were bought out for Christmas, but also they would put the miner in the window of the house if they had a newborn son, a baby son. Boy was born in the house. They would put the miner in the window, and if it was the girl, they'd put the angel. And you can see on the arch here. I'm just trying to be careful not to spill the wax too much. And this is, you can probably see on this one, you've got the miner and the angel. Now the miner actually lives on in folklore. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, who's heard of that? That originates from these miners. That's where it all started, from the miners. So it's not only the tradition, the Christmas tradition, that was started over there, but also a lot of the fairy tale and folklore as well started there, and even Walt Disney picked up on it. So I think what we'd like to do now, I did say my job was a military policeman, and I'm looking for deserters, aren't I? Do any of these look like deserters to you? Have you all got your paperwork so you can go home for Christmas? You haven't, have you?
She looks guilty.
She looks very guilty. Have you got any paperwork? Right, come with me. I won't put you in handcuffs. Okay. Right. Have you ever seen a typewriter working? Okay. What's your name? Poppy. Poppy. Do you want to just come round this side of me? Poppy. And so, do you want to go on holiday? Yeah, let's give you from the 12th of December. And when do you want to go back? Let's put you there for, I don't know, let's say the 6th of January. Okay. So this is the pass that every soldier would have wanted. You can show it round to everyone else. I've got a few more spares here. There you go.
That means you can have Christmas holidays.
So that's the pass that you would have got to be able to go home. It's like a leave pass for the soldiers. Now, anyone here? So, was anyone here in the British Army? Anyone served with the forces? The adults, obviously. I'm talking to now. Any ex-forces people or in the forces? Yes? No? No? Well, if you went on leave, for instance in Britain, if you were in the army in Britain during the war and you went on leave, you say you've got a 72-hour pass, a 3-day pass. Your leave started from the moment you left your unit, and you had to be back at your unit at the time that was on the pass. Okay, so say you had from, I don't know, 6 o'clock Friday evening till 10 o'clock Monday morning. You had to be back at 10 o'clock. That pass there that you've got starts from when you get home. Okay, and then you have your 72 hours, and then it ends when you leave, board a train to get back to your unit. You actually registered at your town's local police station, and that's when your leave started from. Okay, so if you think about it, if you're in Africa or in Greece or in Russia, and you live in Germany, it might take you a week to get home. So there's no point giving you a 3-day pass or a 7-day pass if it's going to take you 2 weeks to get there and back. So it makes perfectly good sense anyway. So what we're going to do now, yes, have you got a question?
Yes, my granddad served in the army and he taught my mummy how to fish.
Did he? Wow. Excellent. That would have been, during the war of course, that people would have been fishing as well, because food was rationed of course, so that would have been a really good thing to know.
He was a very, very good fisher.
Excellent. Great.
It's always good to have a very
It's always good to have a good fisherman in the family. My- So I'm going to show you a picture. You're probably wondering why we're doing it from the German side. Well, first of all, it was to restore a little bit of balance and to put the spiritual side of all of the soldiers in World War II. But I just want to show you this picture as well. You can come up and have a look at our displays and everything in just a moment. But this is a picture of a young German soldier with, it's actually his sister. And this photograph was taken in October 1943 when this young man, who was 18 years old, was at home on leave. He'd been awarded the Iron Cross. You can see the little, I'm wearing the ribbon, he's got one on his button there. Can you see that ribbon? It's the same as that one there. You can see it there? Yeah? It's that thing there. That's the ribbon for the medal called the Iron Cross, and as part of the reward for getting this medal, he was given a week's holiday. And he survived Normandy and was captured in September 1944 and made a prisoner of war in America. He came back to Europe and settled in England. And the reason I know so much about that young man is because that's my dad. He was he was 90 this year. He's still going strong. He's moved back to Germany now. But, you know, they were just young lads doing a job as well. Okay. So, on that note, if you've got any questions, if you'd like to come and have a look at our display, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions you've got. Thank you very much.
Question here.
Yes. So I've got a spotlight in my face.
There's a question just here.
Yes, have you got a question?
What is Germany?
Where?
What is that?
What is it?
What is Germany?
Yeah.
It's a country.
It's a country in
It's a country that, that Britain and America were fighting against during the war.